when I was a kid, we all had imaginations and dreams and all this other stuff. Like, the world was our oyster, basically, when we were a kid, no matter how bad our childhood was.
This is your nautical lantern on the dangerous seas of darkness. Let's push off from the placid shore of the status quo and explore what's beyond the horizon. I am your host, BT, and this is Truth and Shadow, your podcast of the supernatural.
In the spaces where the boundary between the known and the unknown fades, there exists a pursuit for deeper truths, those that speak to the heart and challenge the mind. This journey invites those with a desire to explore the mysteries of existence, to question the world beyond the physical, and to seek the divine. It is a journey that asks, what lies beyond the tangible? And how can understanding the unseen enrich our faith and our lives? This endeavor resembles that of a thoughtful seeker, one who ventures beyond the surface of the daily life and into realms where the unseen holds meaning. Each exploration seeks to draw connections between the spiritual truths and their human experience, weaving stories that invite believers and searchers alike to look past what they already know. Echoing the approach of those who balance curiosity with discernment, these explorations illuminate the paths that bridge faith and understanding. They remind us that the journey toward deeper knowledge doesn't have to challenge belief, but can enhance it, encouraging us to see the profound in the ordinary and the sacred in the mysterious. The voice behind these explorations carries the spirit of a storyteller, a sage, whose questions linger in the mind long after they are asked. With each revelation, stories of purpose, the nature of consciousness, and the whispers of the soul are all interwoven to tell a story of experience. These insights can guide us to contemplate our inner journey, to challenge us or to seek harmony between the long-held beliefs and these profound mysteries that have captivated humanity. Such reflections transform seeking into more than just an intellectual exercise. It becomes an invitation to spiritual renewal, to spiritual growth, and a deeper understanding of the truths we hold dear. In this pursuit, knowledge becomes an act of faith, to listen, to reflect and to grow. The journey encourages the brave to ask questions, not out of doubt, but out of a desire to strengthen this connection. It's not about casting aside what is sacred, but about understanding it more deeply and finding out the questions that lead to greater awe and reverence for the Creator and His creation. The exploration is a reminder that faith and curiosity are not enemies. They are companions on the road to truth. Here in these reflections, we do not find emptiness but potential, echoes waiting to be discovered, truths waiting to be seen in the light. Each step into the unknown brings with it the promise of new understanding, new wonder, and a renewed faith. And so we ask, if seeking answers reveals both new truths and deeper faith, what else might we discover in the spaces we dare to explore? Could it be that the pursuit of the mysterious is not just one individual's quest, but a shared journey that brings us all closer to what lies beyond?
In our quest to uncover the mysteries that elude conventional understanding, we often find ourselves drawn to voices that dare to explore the unknown. One such voice stands at the crossroads of the ordinary and the metaphysical, guiding his audience through the labyrinth of the unexplained. This explorer into the phenomena that challenge our perception of reality, from the enigmatic depths of consciousness to the ancient wisdom of esoteric traditions. In a time when skepticism reigns and the extraordinary is dismissed, this seeker offers a beacon of light, urging us to question, explore, and to believe in the possibilities that defy our so-called reality. He is the shadow seeker, the singularity sage, and navigator of the void. Joe Rupe, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man, that's a really cool introduction. Thanks, brother.
Thanks, man.
I like that.
So I've been a long-time listener of Lighting the Void, but if you can tell the audience a little bit about Joe Rupe, that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I actually started thinking about stuff in like around 2012, and then I did a couple of, I would say, extremely failed podcasts around the ideas of just being a rugged individual, I guess you could say. But then I got more involved in the spiritual stuff at around 2013, 2014, towards the end of that, when I started getting into the out-of-body experience. So I essentially got involved with the occult and the out-of-body experience kind of at the same time. It all kind of ran together. And I think for good reason too. But other than that, that's about when I started Lighting the Void. I actually started it a long time before 2016, 2017. It just didn't really pick up steam, and I didn't really know what I was doing until then. And it still goes up and down today, but I don't podcast for, which I probably should a little bit, but I don't podcast to grow a massive audience. I podcast because, like, if I'm going through something or trying to figure something out, basically I just want to talk about it. That's all I've ever done. That's all that I do. And ever since I've had the out-of-body experience, the first one, that kind of changed the game for me. And then ever since I realized, that there's this communication between human beings and spirit of some kind, or whatever I don't know if you want to call it spirit, whatever you want to call it. There's a communication with something there that's trying to, I guess, guide us, help us out, show us something, even maybe just build a relationship with us. Who knows? But that started my void walking journey, pretty much.
Can you share that experience with us?
Yeah, sure. Like, so when I was a kid, we all had imaginations and dreams and all this other stuff. Like, the world was our oyster, basically, when we were a kid, no matter how bad our childhood was. They didn't have a really good childhood. Mother wasn't around, so like that feminine love energy was hardly ever there. Most children are still looking out with some kind of hope and faith towards the future with an imagination. Things don't pan out for you when you're young, and then so you become I guess you start to try to numb things, to figure things out. That's what I did, and got involved with a lot of drugs and stuff like that throughout my 20s. Realized that wasn't the answer. And I mean really, I came to this place that a lot of other people come to this place, a deep desire for love and connection, but also a deep desire to understand what the hell is going on. Like, I've tried everything. I've tried the schools. I've tried the systems. I've tried what the counselors told me. I've tried all this stuff. And yet none of it seemed to work for me until I got involved with the out-of-body stuff and then magic. And I started realizing, that place that we used when we were a kid, that used our imagination, whatever that place is still trying to communicate with me. And magic kind of showed me a way to do it. And the out-of-body experience kind of showed me a whole other realm. And it just, it made me excited. It made me excited to keep journeying, to try to figure it out, right? Not getting a whole lot of satisfaction in my youth, right? I've gotten more satisfaction as a middle-aged adult, to be honest with you. I'm just saying. And I mean, I just quit my job because it was crushing me. I went back to the property out here and I told my dad, I said, look, I'm going to go in that shack and I'm going to do a podcast. And he's like, what? What the hell's a podcast? What is that? I said, I don't know, but look, nothing's working. Even when I'm working a job, I'm still struggling. Like, if I'm going to be miserable, then I'm going to be miserable doing what I want to do, And, if I'm going to be poor anyways, then I'm going to be poor doing what I want to do, right? And the idea wasn't to be poor. It was just, I just gotten so fed up with everything, right? And I think we learn that. That's what suffering teaches us. You get to that point of where the outside world is really clashing with your authenticity to a point where you're just fed up with it, And then, so after that, I got in the shack. I put my studio it was over there at the time, and I put my temple over there. So between doing the shows, out-of-body experiences, and ritual every day, that's all I did. And then eventually I started noticing that all of the pictures that I had imagined, the things that I wanted deep in my heart, were coming into manifestation. I got to travel around. I got to fall in love, so to speak. I got to live by the ocean. I got to do things that I thought just would never happen. And still yet, I was still struggling every month, weekly actually, financially, things like that. Struggling all the time. But it was just, it didn't mean the same thing to me, right? Like it was more of an adventure, And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm still on this adventure, right? Trying to find out where I belong in the world, but also where I belong in the spirit world,
You cover all sorts of different things. We've talked about how you really are trying to find, answers to life and everything. And you've got so many guests. You got quite the laundry list of individuals that you've interviewed. Is there anybody on that list, guests or anybody that you've find that really stands out as the most impactful?
The most impactful guest that I've ever had on probably would have to have been two of them. One being Stephen Ash, one of my first guests who passed away, which he was the epitome of a mage, in my opinion, what my ideas of a mage were. He was actually a mage in his order, but nobody knew it. One of the highest grade magicians in these secret societies, nobody knew it because he didn't talk about it. But he was kind and he was knowledgeable and his mind was so open. And I don't know, him, and then he passed away shortly after I interviewed him. And then probably John Anthony West, which also passed away shortly after I interviewed him too. I mean, if John Anthony West could do a documentary like Magical Egypt and have everybody up in arms talking about it, and still this guy was such a authentic person that he had no clue what was going on when it came to the internet, right? But when it came to esoteric studies and what he believed and what should go on and how we should evolve as humans and what we should really be studying spiritually, he never backed off. Not even when academia came against him. He never backed down. He would just look him in the eye and crack a joke, This is what you need to be looking at. And I respected that, Probably those two.
Steve Ashen. Yeah, that's awesome. A couple of really big titans.
Yeah. Stephen Ash he was, there's a lot of people that talk about magic and the occult nowadays, but Stephen Ash wasn't, he wrote the Golden Dawn Initiate and the Kabbalah 50 Gates, and he belonged to this order that I think came out of England called the Sanctum Regnum. And just, dude, he was a pure magician at heart, man. He wasn't there to argue with anybody or push his side. And man, he was a mage, that's it. And I wish he would have stayed around, because when I met him, man, I was like, yeah, I finally found my Merlin, so to speak. And this guy's going to teach me everything. All right. And then he got sick and passed away, but he still taught me a lot, though,
Wow. So, in your exploration and this passion that you've got to explore basically depths of consciousness, what do you find? What do you find is the most enlightening form or answer for what our consciousness really is?
Oh man, that's a big question. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, it's trying to understand love and individuality, right? So there's this weird play of understanding oneness through love, which I think is probably if there's anything real, as sappy as it sounds, that's probably what reality is, and everything else is the illusion. I keep coming to that conclusion, but also understanding that the universe is trying to create life for a reason. Consciousness is trying to create life. And I'm not, some people say it's an alien experiment. Some people say it's an entropic feedback loop, for data, just so consciousness can figure out what it is. Some people say it's a matrix, but I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's something that we are meant to not understand, but meant to, the seeking of it, the mystery, is what's making us grow. So essentially it's like holding a carrot in front of your head, but that carrot is making you grow spiritually, like you're becoming something else. What that is, I don't know, but there's been a lot of stories that have said that we belong to the stars. We don't really belong here. And I would, I know it sounds wooey, but I would ask anybody to stare at the stars long enough and meditate and see if they feel that same kind of feeling that I got, Yeah, man, just like it's almost like that's where we came from. I get this weird feeling that we're going to wake up and go, oh, that was fun, should I do it again, kind of thing, and then go back and do it again.
I mean, we're all on that journey. Is it just the mad dreams of Azathoth? We're just living in an H.P. Lovecraft world, Philip K. Dick world. There's no real reason why we can't call it a simulation. Some of the oldest philosophers, there was a guy way back BC that believed that reality was a simulation of some kind. And that just seems to be a testament to time as people keep going, yeah, there's this a holographic universe, is this make-believe. It's an intriguing thing because I'm assuming you've come across different paranormal phenomena that you've encountered or discussed on your show, and I'm kind of curious as to having you tell me some of the most intriguing phenomena you've come across.
Well, other than the out-of-body experience, like being in my etheric double, which people call astral, I just think that some people don't really understand astral travel. Like they have a really lucid dream or something, and they think it's the out-of-body experience. I feel like it's all one kind of consciousness, right? So you have like this etheric double, which I've experienced, which is like your etheric you that you can actually peel yourself out of your body like a ghost. It's incredible. It's freaking incredible. And then there's another body that you can leave that body to. Now I haven't left that body because I don't want to, right? I'm just saying, I mean, I liked being a ghost. I like being able to hang out and fly around and do stupid stuff. Now that sounds crazy, but people are doing it all the time. I've seen people that have astral traveled unknowingly to where I am. I've seen things manifest right in front of my eyes doing certain types of magic, not like fireballs or anything, but things that after enough coincidences you go, okay, yeah, that's real, right? And I have seen some dark beings, but mainly when I was a child. I actually got very curious when I was reading Gordon White's book and invoked the devil or Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, just to see, not to get any favors. I don't want a favor from the devil, but I did want to see this dark side and experience, like, is it real? Is this real? You know? And what it was for me was an overwhelming, massive amount of paralyzing fear. Really all it was. It was powerful though. But it wasn't any different than being stuck in a nightmare, that kind of fear when you're a kid. So it's kind of then that I realized, okay, I understand this fear principle. It's like an intensifying cancer if you allow it to be, you know. And maybe these spirits govern it, or maybe we created this spirit, right? Who knows? But I know that was real. As far as any other like paranormal stuff is concerned, I mean, little bitty things. Some of them are kind of personal with partners, and not anything super scary though. Like I haven't seen any of these demons that are written about. Even though I don't practice invoking them. I don't feel like I'm ready for that yet. Right? Like I deal with demons all the time. Hell, I talk to them. I have my own way of doing like demon stuff, you know, but I just think those are parts of myself. But as far as like goetic invocation and, you know, doing grimoires of that kind of thing, like, nah, I don't think I'm balanced enough for that yet.
Yeah, I've spoken to some people who've summoned things out of like the lesser key, and then they pull them into an, you know, apparition, and then they start asking questions, and then everything's just stereotypical answers, you know, and it's becoming, they're finding that it was becoming more and more obvious that it wasn't what it's supposed to be, or not answering the questions that they're trying to discover with pulling somebody up, you know, and into the triangle.
Most of the time they'll test you or mess with you or try to challenge you of some kind of way, and it's just, to me, it's pointless. To me, it's almost like the flat earth to me. I could experience all kinds of other things, regardless if it's true or not. It serves no real practical purpose for me, you know.
So usually you explore a lot of the esoteric mind space, but I want to talk about, I don't know, do you have like a favorite cryptid creature?
A favorite cryptid?
Well, that you'd like to just talk about?
Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm very skeptical about cryptids, number one. But I will say that whatever, I don't know if I would call it a cryptid. I don't have a favorite cryptid. But when I was a child, I think I summoned a dwarf or something, like some kind of weird, short, fat, ugly, damn thing that wanted to scare me. And I've always wondered what that was, because I was wide awake. I wasn't asleep when I saw it. And it's almost like it was there. You know, it's almost like it was there because my fear summoned it there. Like, you know, when you're a kid, how you can become so fearful that you can make things happen in your mind, so to speak. Well, this was not like I was staring at a poster so long it started moving and talking to me. This was like an entity that was sitting in the hallway looking at me, you know. That's my favorite thing today. It doesn't scare me even thinking about it today, but I want to know what the hell that thing was. Right.
Like a shadowy miniature creature of some kind.
Yeah, like, was it really a creature that already existed in the astral realm, or did I just create an elemental because I was so freaked out that I created it, you know.
I've heard of people, kids specifically, you know, they're sleeping, and we moved that hat rack out of my room because I kept complaining about it. But now there's something in that corner that looks an awful lot like what I was seeing with the hat rack, you know, kind of.
Yeah.
And things move up.
You ever seen
I just think children are more open to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know why? We've dulled down our imagination through we've given in to the mirror. That's what we do in our youth. We lose it at some point from childhood to adolescence to adult. And we've given into the mirror, and we're trying to impress the mirror through the ego the whole time. And we've lost the inner realms. We've even lost love. Most of what we're searching for is based in lust or accomplishment, right? But once you get around a certain age, I think the Kabbalists knew this too. That's why they wanted to wait for you to study the Kabbalah until you were like, I don't know, around 40 or something like that. You know, because you could really start to, like, I understand so much now. You know, so I really do. Like, I'm not a genius. I understand things of a sacred nature. I understand attraction on a deep level now. I understand, and not just masculine and feminine. I mean the poles of everything. You know, how the fluctuations of energy, and like I understand so many things that it's almost hermit-like. Like, even if when I go into the world, if I start talking to people, I'll start trying to make them aware of what's really going on inside them, and it's just annoying to people, you know. And so like but back to the child thing, like becoming the magician is that ability. It's the first stage of hermetics, which is the operation under the moon, which is theurgy. So basically we are reprogramming the unconscious. We're reprogramming that part so that we could better speak to the spirit world and better alchemize with it, you know. So I have a lot of fun with that, like working through the elements. I'm probably one of the slowest magicians on the earth. You know how some people, they want to go through the grades and do all the stuff, and just like, I want to take it as slow as possible because I'm afraid I'm going to miss something.
It's probably part of the ego anyways, you know what I mean? Accomplishment. Remember you said love is lust or accomplishment.
Yeah, and then when you get older, you start realizing that love doesn't have anything to do with that, you know. Doesn't really. I mean, I still love people that have completely betrayed me, right? But I understand why they did. It's really strange to say that, but I understand why they did. Doesn't make it right.
Yeah, I think way differently than I did when I was the way that I process issues or problems, or argument. Sometimes I just don't, you know, it's not that I don't care, it's I just don't care.
You just don't participate because you know it's useless.
This does not deserve my energy.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
It's useless.
We were talking about, you know, kind of being, you were talking about kind of being skeptical with like the ideas of cryptids. It's like, for the most part, the cryptids that intrigue me specifically are ones that are shadowy manifestations of some kind. So
I do think those are real, actually.
Right. And I don't mean, you know, I mean, sure, I'm in Oregon, so Bigfoot, I don't know, it might be a mascot for the state. But I wonder how you deal with the skepticism specifically related to those who would like dismiss the metaphysical or paranormal.
I don't. I'm just saying, I don't get a whole lot of no one challenges me on it anymore. I wish they would. You know, honestly, I wish they would. I wish some people would come around and say, "Oh, it's just psychological," or "Oh, it's all in your head." But I mean, let's be honest. Until people can explain consciousness other than in a way where they're measuring brain chemicals, which they know it's more than that, until people can explain that, they're really not telling me anything. You know, they're just telling me, well, this is how the body reacts to it, and this is the chemicals that we can measure when this stuff happens. But when I go out of body etherically and I can tell you what happened in the room, but I'm supposed to be asleep, and all these other people that are doing it during operations and stuff, you can't measure that, right? So, I mean, we can argue that stuff till the cows come home, but most of the people don't. Maybe I have a way where I come off to where it's just like, what's the point in arguing with this guy? I don't know. But like, no, maybe my dad is the only person that challenges me on some of the stuff. He calls it, what was he said to me a long time ago? Go back in your shack and worship your idols. That's what he said. And I said, Pop, I don't worship anything. Right? I mean, all of these characters in your stories that you've made into gods, do you think I'm out there worshiping them? No. I just understand kind of the sphere of energy that they come from, which is why I like the Kabbalah so much, because it kind of shows that. The Hermetic Kabbalah specifically.
Right. That's what I was figuring you're talking about. It's kind of like, I got introduced to that back early 20s with Lon Milo Duquette's Chicken Kabbalah. Yeah, I think
Lon's cool.
I think I think a lot of people really kind of find a little bit better of an understanding doing something like that as opposed to picking up McGregor Mathers' book.
Mathers is too snooty. A lot of the Golden Dawn magicians are some snooty, even Israel Regardie. Like, I love his books, but he talks about certain things that are so snooty. And then I meet Thelemites, which I can't stand Aleister Crowley, honestly. I mean, I think he's intelligent, right, and spiritually intelligent, but everything else about him I cannot stand, because I think he just ruined a lot of deeper meaning stuff. But I understand his idea of the will, but that's a whole other thing. Like, yeah, so when I meet Thelemites like Lon's a mage, man. That guy's, unless he's just not who he appears to be to the public, which I highly doubt, like, that guy's a mage. He knows what he's talking about,
Well, there's a handful of careers out here that you're just poor. I mean, if you want to be a writer, a podcaster, a magician, you're going to be poor. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, I actually do know, I know some occultists that are very wealthy. They just don't go in the public. They've learned that art of silence. They've let it work for them. As me, as being a talk host, it's worked against me. Yeah, like, I can't help it, honestly.
That's what we do. We like to talk, man. Talking's probably our problem, man. So, besides the names that we've already talked about today, I was just curious as to who's some of the biggest influences for you in your paranormal research, your metaphysical exploration.
A lot of people don't know. I mean, I've mentioned Liam Thomas Christopher and Frater Xavier, right? Like, I've mentioned them, but a lot of people don't know. There's two big Golden Dawn orders in the United States. There's a whole bunch of Golden Dawn orders, but there's two, I guess you could say, more renowned ones, right? So you got Cicero's group, and then you got Griffin's group. David Griffin and Leslie McQuaid really influenced me, because at first I thought, man, these people are just like marketing, they're just, it's almost like they're doing the Magic with the ShamWow version, But when I went out there and met them, it wasn't that at all. It was like they were just so excited about, it's almost like they felt it was their duty to get this message out to people. And they were so passionate and so childlike and so authentic, and, just unlike a lot of people that I've met. You can't, no matter what you say about them, you can't affect them. You're not going to affect them. And so they influenced me a hell of a lot. It's where, I was actually physically initiated in the desert out there. And then, man, I would say Gordon White's also been a big Now, he probably doesn't know this because we disagree on a lot of things, but he's been a big influence in my life. You know, Gordon White will make you think. That's what you should be doing, right? You should be thinking outside the box all the time, but still looking at the fundamentals of how magic and consciousness work. And yeah, he's been a pretty big influence too. But as far paranormally goes, yeah, especially. Manley P. Hall's been a big influence in my life. I mean, I had Ronnie Pontiac on the show, which was one of his last direct students, and would do speeches in his place and stuff for him. And I could just feel how much Manley P. Hall influenced his life, and just reading his books and listening to his lectures, I would say changed my whole life, actually, But, people can say what they want about Manley P. Hall, but I think he was a really good dude. I think he was trying to evolve the human race. That's why he talked about it so much. He believed philosophy was far more important than we give it credit for,
Yeah, I think that's all part of communication and conversation. It's not just a matter of argument. It's a matter of speaking our minds and finding out where our headspace is in this, cosmic reality, and then seeing where somebody else is and figuring out if that's somewhere we need to travel to, or somewhere that doesn't work out for us, if you know what I mean. It's
yeah, man. I'm jealous of Manley P. Hall, though. Think about that. That dude got a bunch of money from a family, and because he was so intelligent. Not because I'm not jealous because he got a bunch of money, but the freedom that he had to explore anything and everything he wanted to. You take a guy like Crowley, he did the same thing, but there was a lot of ego involved and weird political stuff, and that's a weird story, Manley P. Hall put every resource that he ever had to the best of his use that he could possibly do, and got out as much information as he possibly could, and then built an entire research center around it. Like he left a mark in society to keep people's minds open.
a mark probably more positive than the parsonage for Jack Parson or Scientology for L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah. It's like these guys understood, as soon as they understood the connection between masculine and feminine and alpha and omega and the 2-in-1 mystery, it's like they took that and turned it into the source for them to do whatever, whenever, however. But they say in their books, like, that's not really what it means, And yet, if that's not what it means, then why all this debauchery and shit, Like it's hard. I mean, I'm not trying to judge, okay, but it's hard for me to see where a divine being from outer space would come down and tell you to follow your soul's true will, which I totally believe in and understand, but it leads you to debauchery, hurting people, egotistic games, weird, sick shit. Like, how does it lead you to that?
Yeah, there's a lot of people in history like that. Edward Kelly and John Dee, they're doing their thing, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, you guys need a wife swap. And it's
I was wondering about that too. I was like, this Enochian magic, I'm going to be honest with you, it's very powerful, okay? But where did the wife swapping come into play? Like, why? Why did that even matter? And I think it was just two dudes that once they realized, oh, we've got something here. Now I've always wanted to sleep with your wife. Why didn't you just say that to begin with, right? Like, what does it have to do with all this other stuff? I mean, and I thought you were my friend, number one. Like, we're supposed to be buddies here, and then they went along with it or something, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't get it either, man. There's some weird, but also think about this, okay? Anytime in your life that you've tried to be happy when it comes to the opposite energy, whether that's a woman or a career that you really wanted, or something that was going to make you really happy where you're following your heart, there always seems to be an outside influence that wants to fuck it up. Pardon my French. And it's not there while you're not doing those things. It's not until you have reached this kind of true will, speaking of Crowley, and authenticity when it comes to relationships or your career or your vocation or whatever, that the outside world tends to want to stop it, or it's something from our mundane existence wants to just cut. No, we got to stop that for some reason. So I think that maybe John D and Edward Kelly were bringing some kind of decent power into the world to try to show them something. And there's this other energy that's always there that comes along that's like, I got to slow this down. Why don't you guys swap wives?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty common. There's all these stories. I mean, the thing is, though, is you follow like the stories of like angelic contact, if you will. John D. Edward Kelly, angel contact. Joseph Smith. That's another one. It's like you get angel contact, and then now you have like a million wives, and it's like, what's going on? See what I'm saying?
It's crazy, man.
There just seems to be an energy that's...
Well, here's what happens, okay? And I don't want to make women mad. There's a polar opposite. There's a polar opposite that happens here. So when masculine energy is doing its true will, see, women have 28-day cycles, right? And they're energetic, and it goes with their bodies. Men have what I call purpose cycles. So we'll follow our purpose till we can't follow it no more. Then we'll get bored and we'll sit and wait until another one comes along. That's a man cycle. But when a man is on his purpose, like really going for it and inspiring and doing all kinds of stuff, that energy is pouring out. That solar energy, so to speak, it's pouring out. Feminine energy just tends to come that way. It just tends to pepper itself all around it. And that's because feminine energy is supposed to take in that energy, use it, and build something solid with it. What I think happens in those situations is, a litter of women come around, and some guys are just like, well, I just don't know which one to choose here, And since I'm divine, I guess I could have all of them. And then the women go along with it. It's not just the man's fault, right? So they go to,
not to piss anybody off in particular, but true.
Yeah, think about what was it?
The power to say no.
Yeah, women aren't gonna. You ever notice that if other women think that other women are attracted to you, you don't even have to be attractive. They just have to think that other women are attracted to you, and then they'll all compete for you. It's ridiculous, right? But my point to that is the man's job is to do the choosing, because that's what it does. A masculine's job is to do the choosing. But nowadays, I don't think it's that traditional, because we gotta, like, I have a little bit of feminine energy in me that I've accepted. I'm not totally 100% masculine. I don't in some measuring contest or worried about being an alpha or whatever, right? Like, I just want to attract my opposite, But anyways, what was I getting at? So all of that happens naturally. And I think a lot of times these energies happen and we just don't know what to do with them. Think about Waco. What did that guy do? Right. He had this idea of, like he's going to change the world or whatever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's like, I'm going to take the sin away from all of you and sleep with all your wives. And some of the dudes went along with it, and some of the wives went along with it. It's like, see, the cultist and the esotericist understands that sexual energy is the energies underneath everything that's inspiring everything to come together and go apart. But these people are taking them as like, something else. It means something else. Jesus talked to me, or I'm the prophet, or whatever.
One of the things that I'm curious about, and I bet you've got a real good opinion on this one, is, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on using like artificial intelligence in researching or understanding that beyond?
Well, I think it can be, man, I don't know, because I like technology's helped me in a lot of ways. Technology But artificial intelligence, what they're calling artificial intelligence today, to me, isn't the true idea of artificial intelligence. It's a data gathering algorithm that spits out answers based on what you ask it or tell it, which is a form of intelligence, but it's not true artificial intelligence, right? There is a company called Final Spark that they've made synthetic human brains to power computers, small little brains that they're rewarding and punishing, trying to teach it to think for itself, but think the way we want you to think. Honestly, this is just from a long story to wrap it up. I think artificial intelligence, if we were a spiritually enlightened society the way I think we could be, wouldn't be a bad thing. I just don't think we're even close to being ready for something like that. As a society, we're too selfish. Most people don't walk around worrying about the other human or even loving another human. Most people are concerned about themselves and what they're going to get, or they're worried about, or they're trying to just be as comfortable as possible or not manifest their fears. They're not, people get in car wrecks every day and we look at them and it's just like a comic book to us if we don't know them. I think if we bring in artificial intelligence with a society like that, that's going to cause a lot of trouble, big time trouble.
Yeah, that leads to all sorts of interesting thought ideas. It's kind of like, well, what would be the future trends in this kind of research then? Because I mean, not everybody is of the mold, so to speak. They're not all rank and file. There are people out there like you, Joe, that think outside the box. So what would be the future of our research? I mean, something that you would explore on Lighting the Void.
Well, methods of conscious exploration and trying to figure out why do we call this magic? Why do we call this, what is the etheric double? See, right now it's all just magic and stuff to us because we don't know what it is. But it could be some kind of massive simulation that's based on a biological digital program. We don't know, right? I think also though that the most dangerous people on the earth are the rich mad scientists of the world, not Trump or Biden or any of those people. The rich mad scientists of the world that can't really be regulated because nobody's smarter than them or richer than them, and they're allowed to kind of do whatever and experiment with whatever. That kind of freaks me out.
Right. The ability to literally spend trillions of dollars to try a shot on millions of indigenous peoples in Africa. I mean, what is that?
Yeah, and then socially engineered in a way to influence. Well, we see what happened here. Well, let's take what we know about social engineering and push this other shot. I don't. That should be evidence of how dangerous it is. Like right now, it's all about the dollar. It's all about power and the dollar, and those people's agendas. And a lot of times those people think that they're doing good things for everybody in the world, and they're meant to be the saviors of the world because they have so much power, so they have so much responsibility, But what kind of power and responsibility comes from a guy that just seized, for instance, like if you're talking about Microsoft, like this guy just sold a software design that his friends made because they weren't quick enough to do it first. So he kind of screwed them over. But now he's supposedly this good force in the world. Like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't trust him.
Can't really appeal to it's because he doesn't have a degree or something like that. He shouldn't be doing medical stuff. That's not what it's about. You know what I mean? That's not the counter argument that we have to focus on. It's the reality that just because you have a lot of money, you might not actually have the best intentions in all humanity on your mind.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I've got a weird relationship with money, and like I liked to experience all the pleasures of the earth, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But people and money are. I've seen the most loving person, as soon as they have money in their hands, they turn into a bully. And they tell themselves that, oh, I'm loving and this is how I give. And you could just see how they're trying to control everything with it and people. And it's disgusting to me, honestly. And the problem is, and I'm working this out for myself, the problem is I want to be wealthy. We all want to be wealthy in a sense. But if it's going to make me like that, I don't care to be wealthy. So I'm in this weird dilemma where I want to experience all the pleasures of life, but I don't want to be like that, I just don't.
Yeah, really. I mean, the ability to maybe just fly over to France and enjoy some, wine and cheese in France. I mean, it's just drop of the hat kind of decision that would be nice.
Yeah, man. And I've experienced I've had a taste of the money world a little bit. I know why they enjoy it so much. You pay $300 for a 4-course meal or something, $300-400, and you think it's just overpriced food. It's not. The food is magnificent most of the time, right? It's like really, really good stuff, but at the same time, I've seen people, like I said, man, I've seen people that have just, it's like they're a slave to money, and when they have it, I even had a person help me out one time, and because they helped me out, they were like, man, I believe in what you're doing and you're worth it. This ain't a thing or whatever. I don't want to control you or nothing like that. I'm like, okay. All right, I'll try this out, because I was thinking maybe I manifested this into my life. Maybe God or consciousness is trying to show me to accept these things. And as soon as I accepted it, it turned into, well, I paid for this and I paid for that. And it's almost like the tyrant came out in them. Or they were like, they thought it was attractive that people paid for things, and I'm like, this is weird, man. Right? Like, this to me, it may not be strange to other people, but to me it's very odd. It's not even human in a sense, if you ask me. Not on the heart level, And yet that's all we do. That's what most of society does.
Yeah. What is that theory? It's when you have enough, you're fine. But it's the scarcity model, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us don't go paycheck. I mean, there's a lot of Americans go paycheck to paycheck, to be honest.
Or week to week, day to day, even. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just whatever they come, whatever money they pull in is money that's going out. And that's exactly how it is. And it's a resource that can go away just as quickly as any other product that we have. And I wonder how much of the human brain is wrapped up in the reality of our survival instincts of scarcity when it comes to something like money.
Oh, no, dude, that's a good question. Yeah, like I've seen so much good stuff that could have been manifested get ruined because of the scarcity idea that took over. Or my bank account's getting low, or, we got to work a second job or whatever. And it's like, this is just an adventure, and money is just money. All we have to do is keep changing strategies till we get something right. Keep failing until we succeed. It's not that hard, right? But that energy takes over, I just need to run to something that has more money. It's going to get me out of this thing. And it's like, then you're never going to learn that lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's like, hey, I gave you so much money. Where's my ROI?
Right?
It's like, yeah, but it was a donation, man.
It was
you don't
a donation.
Get a
Yeah, or, it was you telling me that you loved me, or it was, and I keep running into this in my life, right? And when I have people reach out to help, and I've had some pretty cool offers, I always say, what do you want? Don't lie to me and say, I just care about this or that. No, what do you want? Do you want my attention? Do you want my worship? Do you want be honest with yourself for once, right? Because some people just want to feel appreciated. They're like, I want to help somebody and I want to feel appreciated. I want them to help me back. Well, say that. Stop pretending like you're an angel and then trying to bully them. It's like there's a lot of bullies in the world. You know what I mean? It's weird, dude. And people do it with sex. They do it with money. They do it with resources, networking. Yeah.
It's just, I think it's really just part of the human condition, the survival. Hunter-gatherer is really what it is. You're hunting and gathering. You're hunting for a resource. You're gathering a resource. I don't think there's much evolved difference.
I have a problem. That's what my one that I'm still trying to work out in my conscious journey as far as psychologically is I can't stand a bully. I want to eradicate them. And I don't mean eradicate like teach them a lesson. I'm like, I just want them off the earth.
Just don't want bullying to exist, man.
Yeah, I want them off the earth. I mean, whether it's physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, whatever it is, I want all these people gone. Because what is happening, the cause and effect of that, is why we have all these problems today, generation after generation, through children and things like that. Like, love and respect is not a hard thing. It's very easy. I don't know what. It's so easy. Yeah. And most of the time, a lot of people are just defending themselves, when they don't need to be, and then they become the bully because they're trying to defend themselves. And I could just see there's so much pain and hurt out there. People are just in this constant defense mode. And it's kind of why I stay in the shack, because it's not that I can't navigate all that. I'm just tired of it, Well,
let's just shift gears. Let's talk about Lighting the Void. Let's talk about Fringe FM for a little bit. Let's talk about the passion project that you created 2017 and designed to grow and what it is you do with that as a business model, man.
Well, right now I'm just doing that so we all just pay dues to be on the station if you're a radio host. So it's not like my plan for it wasn't to be Joe Rupe's empire, right? My plan wasn't for it to be a group of people that paid for a thing and, made something out of it and utilized it without outside interference or influence or, somebody telling us what to do. Like, somebody comes along and pays for a bunch of stuff and then tells us what to do. Because I've already done all that. And I like radio, so I kept the radio station on there. What I eventually wanted to do is what I'm working on now is doing a couple of events a year. So keeping the radio station there and trying to grow the family there, but as well as doing some events of a different type. That's all I'm going to say about that. But just, in my opinion, the fringe people are the people that evolve society, regardless if they're made fun of or not. There's always somebody in the fringe that opened a door that became normal later, Without the fringe people, we wouldn't evolve, period. I don't come from a place of scarcity or lack. I don't want to live in that world, even consciously. It's just like when people talk about magic, they say it's all psychological. Some people. There is a form of it that is psychological for sure, but is it all psychological? I don't know about that. I've had too many experiences to say that it's not, So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what the project is about. Play what we want, say what we want, and then we want to do some events eventually, Sell what we want.
Yeah, exactly. So people could basically, I mean, it's on your website. Was it fringe.fm? You go on there and you can, you could pay some money in and get some airtime basically on.
Yeah, it's like a community station, so to speak, but there's still commerce there. And I open, so when a host comes on the station, if we like them, we'll bring them on the station and they'll be able to go live at their showtime, but also anytime that nobody's online. It's like their toy, they can just broadcast whenever they want. as long as there's not somebody in that slot. And then they have a page, a blog page. There's a store there. Do all of them utilize it? Nah. Most of them just like to go live on the station and be heard. But it's there for them to utilize. But the radio station is still just like one of the pegs of the vision that I have for it, So
in the future, what would you like to do with Fringe FM? Besides
what everybody else is trying to do, man. Take over the world.
Take over the world.
Yeah, man. Why not?
Well, no, that's true. I mean, I agree with you 100%. Out here in the Fringe, it doesn't matter which kind of Fringe you're on. You could be on an esoteric Fringe, you could be on a Christian Fringe. It doesn't matter where you are, because it's you here doing these things, pushing the envelope in ways that no one else is comfortable to do. And I think that's the drive. I find that's an admirable fact with you guys.
Well, I also like to find talent that isn't getting noticed. That's my favorite thing to do. And then put them on the station. They're going to get noticed anyways, all right? Because they're talented people, or they're just, doing the work. You don't have to be talented to get noticed. You can just have a crazy will and get noticed. But I don't know. I like to see people get noticed. Is that weird? Like, it's fun for me. So like Juan Ayala, when I first met him, I thought that dude was like, this guy was he still hasn't gotten what he's capable of, right? Ryan Gable, when he was on the station, like some other radio station buried him on a Saturday slot at 2:00 and just hit him down there. Now, a lot of people don't like this guy. He's a love it or hate him guy. But when it comes to radio, it was awesome radio, man, And so he got a primetime slot. Now he's moved on to Ground Zero. Juan's not really on the Fringe anymore, even though he's still considered family. They're all considered family. But, I think those are Fringe people. I think it's just authenticity gets my attention. And I just want to make it a place for people to express that,
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man, I used to have, what was his name, Clyde Lewis. Out here in Oregon, we had a radio station that would carry his Ground Zero show. And man, I used to listen to Clyde Lewis, and he's no longer on the radio show. And I'm like, man, what happened to dude? Because I knew for a fact he would, I figured he'd be like Robert Jordan. He's going to keep doing something until he's, they nail his coffin shut. But that's exactly what happened. I was driving 7:00 at night. It wasn't on the radio anymore. I'm like, what's going on, man? Where's Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero?
I was on that show once. I remember getting to go in the studio and actually being on Ground Zero. And I thought, this is cool to me because I was in love with radio. So I finally got to go to a radio studio, sit in the booth, be a guest. Clyde Lewis is across from me, taking callers left and right. And I got to tell you something, man. Clyde is a good dude. He's a good dude. But when he gets in that booth, it's like he turns something on. It's like something's different. Like he can just turn it on and do the show. It was really cool to watch, really cool to experience. I mean, but some people that called in were, you just, like some guy called in and was like, there are no occult symbols on the dollar bill. And I was like, what?
What?
I was like, how do you, I mean,
what dollar bill? The Monopoly dollar bill?
Yeah. Are you looking at Monopoly money? Right. Like, cause I don't know what you're talking about. And it's like, Clyde had a way to he knows how to stir up people's polarity, which is perfect for me. Like, I don't do that, which I probably should, but I'm too kind of middle of the road about so many things that I don't stir up people's polarity like he can, and just to witness it was really cool. Plus being in Oregon was cool. Portland, man, I experienced some, let's just say some good and bad things out there, It's one hell of a city. Like, it's a trip. It's a trip, man. Some pretty dark stuff I experienced in Portland, but also some pretty cool stuff too. So, And I remember crossing that bridge in Portland and remember I seen it in a dream, like the one that has I don't know what it looks like now, but at the time it just had green lights all the way across it, And I was driving across this and I'm like, dude, I have been in this spot in my dreams like at least 4 or 5 times, you know? So yeah, all kinds of weird stuff was manifesting at that time when I was there. I was doing magic daily. Here's the weird thing. You take a break from magic, or not just magic, and Liam Thomas Christopher just did a video about this, and it made me realize something. When you take a break from having that relationship with whatever it is, your higher self, holy guardian angel, Jesus, Buddha, whatever, when you take a break from that and you stop using your imagination, life gets pretty shitty. It just does. It just does. I mean, it's like all you got to do to go back to that place again is get back in touch with that conversation again. Right. And then the life becomes an adventure again. You go on this whole new journey. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm kind of at this place where I've taken a break from magic, but it's like I'm hesitant to stick my toe all the way back in again because I got smacked around so much. Like I manifested lots of things, but not because I wanted to manifest them, just because I was changing myself and those things just happened. But also got smacked around in all kinds of ways that traumatized me a little bit. So it's kind of like when you jump in cold water and you get shocked and then they're like, jump back in, And it's like, I want to make sure that I have my visions clear this time, but I guess, man, I ramble a lot. I got ADHD, but look, I think that that's the key to everything. Like right now, I do. Whether it's love, relationships, career, vocation, is while you're going on that journey, you have to find something to conversate with this consciousness, man. Whether it's ceremony or ringing a bell or prayer or sigils or tarot card, I don't know, whatever, find a system that you love to do to communicate with it and just watch the adventure unfold,
All right. Well, let me get the audience some of your details where they could find you, listen to you.
Yeah, sure. Just go to fringe.fm. And if you want to listen to the podcast, right now the archives are way backed up because I'm doing 4 shows a night and I have to edit all the stuff myself. So if you want to get the latest shows, just go to YouTube's Lighting the Void, right? But we also have the podcast Lighting the Void too, but the website is fringe.fm. So you can look up Lighting the Void, Fringe FM, or Joe Rupe, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. I'll usually accept it as long as you're not a bot or something like that.
Cool. Thank you for coming on the show, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a quick one.
Thank you for listening. This is a free podcast based upon the value for value model. If you find value in this or any episode, you can return that value by liking the show, subscribing to this channel, leaving a review, or sharing with a friend on your social media accounts. You can also donate on my website. Thank you again. This is BT for Truth and Shadow Podcast. You are the light in the darkness.